So over the past 72 hours, I presume you guys must have heard the reports surrounding Manchester United and Carlos Baleba. So guys, let's dive into this video together. So Ruben Amorim likes a midfielder that can be able to win the ball, drive the ball, and actually move the ball forward. And here is exactly why Ruben Amorim wants Carlos Baleba in Manchester United. It is because Baleba is actually good in defensive actions, he's good in progressing the ball, and he's also good in switching the ball. And in this video today, I'm going to be comparing the three key strengths of Carlos Baleba with the elite Premier League midfielders and the elite Premier League pivots. So guys, let's dive into this video together and analyze all the strengths of Carlos Baleba and how he can be able to suit into the system of Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. So the first key strength we are going to be talking about Baleba is his defensive action. When you're talking about his defensive action, Carlos Baleba is actually one of the players that have the highest defensive action in the Premier League when it comes to tackles and interception. And if you look at the stats I'm showing on the screen, you're going to find out that only Moisés Caicedo has the highest tackles and interception more than Carlos Baleba at 4.38 defensive actions per 90 minutes. That actually tells you that Carlos Baleba is a player that is actually very good in winning tackles and interceptions. And when it comes to the system of Ruben Amorim that requires aggressive press and a compact midfield shape, you're going to find out that Carlos Baleba actually fits into that. And when we talk about the pressing structure of Carlos Baleba, is actually a player that can be able to press very high. He's a player that actually presses and makes the opponent to lose ball in dangerous positions and situations that is going to lead to dangerous counter. He's very good in pressing, and also his defensive positioning. Is a player that can be able to position himself very well deep in the midfield, because he's one of the players that can be able to progress the ball from deeper areas of the pitch up to the front area of the pitch. So he's a player that anticipates the ball in the directions of the opponent, how they are going to come, how the ball is going to come, and so he's very aware. He has this special awareness to know when the ball is coming and when opponents are coming, for him to be able to shield, for him to be able to cover those wing back spaces that will be vacated probably by the wing backs of Manchester United. So Carlos Baleba can be able to cover those wing backs position. He can be able to tackle and make wonderful interceptions. So when it comes to if Carlos Baleba is going to fit Manchester United defensively, he's actually going to be good in the Ruben Amorim system, because he's very good in interceptions, in tackling. He has this tactical maturity and defensive maturity for his age, because he's just 21 years of age and he has so much maturity more than his age. And that is actually what Ruben Amorim needs to transform the Manchester United midfield, because having a player like Carlos Baleba that has such high defensive actions is going to help Bruno Fernandes to thrive in those hard spaces that is going to create, and it's actually going to help Bruno Fernandes to express himself more in the midfield. So guys, let's talk about the ball progression and the creating of spaces of Carlos Baleba. When it comes to ball progression and creating of spaces, Carlos Baleba is probably one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. He has a progressive carry of 1.45 and he has a progressive pass rate per 90 minutes of 3.99, and the defensive midfielder in the Premier League that has more progressive carries than Carlos Baleba is actually Declan Rice from Arsenal. He has a progressive carry per 90 minutes of 2.66, and while Moisés Caicedo and Mac Allister actually has more progressive passes per 90 than Carlos Baleba. But the ability of Carlos Baleba to have a good passing range and to also blend it with a good defensive action per 90 minutes makes him a very unique player, because he's a player that does not just win tackles, he's a player that doesn't just win deals, he's a player that is also very good in progressing the ball. He's very good in progressing the ball with a lot of pace, with a lot of power, with a lot of control from the deeper parts of the pitch up to the forward line. And he has a very good first control, he has a very good first touch that can be able to bypass the first phase of the press, that can be able to create defensive situations into attacking situations. He's actually a very good player when it comes to ball progression. He's very swift and he can be able to use quick turn, shielding, or 1-2 combination to bypass press. He's a player that can be able to play under intense pressure. He has the movements of the opposition team, and that really makes him to be able to be fast when it comes to pressure. He can play towards pressure zone, and he's not a player that is actually very good in playing the safe passes, just like most of the Manchester United midfielders like Casemiro and Manuel Gete. He's not a player that looks to play those safe passes. He's a player that actually looks to drive the ball into those pressure zone. He's actually a player that can be able to play in difficult and intense situations, and that is why I really like Carlos Baleba to partner with Bruno Fernandes in the Ruben Amorim pivot, because he brings a lot of dynamism, he brings a lot of power, control and flair into the midfield of Manchester United. So let's talk about the ability of Baleba to take on players and to create spaces. When it comes to taking on players as a defensive midfielder, Carlos Baleba is probably one of the defensive midfielders in world football that has this ability to take on players. He has a successful take-on rate of 1.12 per 90 minutes. He's actually a player that has a very good take-on rate. He can be able to move past series of players from deeper parts of the pitch. He's a player that creates those spaces that can be able to leave spaces for the attacking-minded midfielders to thrive in, just like Bruno Fernandes. In the case whereby Carlos Baleba is going to take away players with his ability to take on, Bruno Fernandes is going to thrive in those half spaces. Bruno Fernandes is going to thrive on those freedom that was going to be given to him. And Carlos Baleba is not a player that actually takes on players for form. He's not a player that actually wants to take on players to actually show his dribbling ability. He's a player that takes every steps that Carlos Baleba takes on the pitch is a progressive movement, and that is what Ruben Amorim has been emphasizing in Manchester United over the past 6 months, because actually Manchester United players are not progressive enough, and Ruben Amorim actually wants to be playing more progressive football this season. If you watch the preseason, you're going to find out that Manchester United are trying to play more centrally than how we were playing last season, how we were playing through the wing backs, how Manchester United was more predictive. Ruben Amorim is actually taking a tweak in his formation, and he wants to play really centrally. And if Ruben Amorim wants to continue to play centrally, he needs players like Carlos Baleba that can be able to take on players successfully, that can be able to drive players from the middle of the pitch, that can be able to turn defense into attack in seconds. And Carlos Baleba is probably one of the most attacking-minded defensive midfielder you're going to see in the world, because he has this ability to take on players successfully. So guys, in this phase of this video, you're going to be talking about why Ruben Amorim needs a player like Carlos Baleba in the team. We all know that Ruben Amorim can play in a 3-4-3 shape, he can play in a 3-5-2 shape, or he can play in a 3-2-5 shape, whereby the wing backs are going to push forward with the right hands and the striker. And in this kind of shape and in this kind of formation, you actually need a profile like Baleba that can be able to win the ball high up the pitch, that can be able to cover for these forward wing backs, that can be able to create a lot of central overload, that can be able to cover the depth and the width in the pitch. And so this is the kind of player that actually Ruben Amorim needs in Manchester United, because Carlos Baleba is actually that player that can be able to win the ball back in higher positions. He has this ability to press, he has this ability to take on, he has very good successful take on rate, he's a ball progressor. He's actually that shield that Manchester United and Ruben Amorim needs to make our pivot to be dynamic enough to be able to be fluid in this 3-4-3 system. So does Ruben Amorim actually need Carlos Baleba? Yes, he actually does, because Carlos Baleba is actually that energetic shield. He's that dangerous progressor that is actually going to bring balance, dynamism, and a lot of pace, explosiveness, intensity in the middle of the park alongside Bruno Fernandes. So I want you guys to give me your thoughts if Carlos Baleba is the best player to partner Bruno Fernandes in the midfield pivot. And so guys, I also made a video some months back about who is the perfect athletic midfielder to actually play in the Manchester United pivot alongside Bruno Fernandes. So I want you guys to give me your thoughts down in the comment section. I want you guys to like, to subscribe to Tactical Trafford. I shall be making more videos about Manchester United. So see you guys in my next video. Ciao.